failed. It was over, the San Francisco Bay, which had a lot of wind, strong currents, and he financed and said on all of the bonds to finance that bridge, and he knew that it failed. That was probably, but it didn't fail. So now you have this wonderful bridge. He funded the fledgling movie industry, which kept the movie industry in California, where most of it was migrating to New York, where the money was. And so he financed, the agriculture in the San Joaquin Valley. There's a great story about him financing just ordinary people after the San Francisco earthquake. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah, after the earthquake, he came out. The buildings were, some of them were still on fire, and he came out with a wagon with gold on the back of the wagon, doing banking business there on the street when everyone else was closed. And he was giving it out to just ordinary people, not just the rich people. And my understanding is he always used to say that all those loans that he made, all those earthquake loans, all got paid back. They did, yeah. But he was really a banker for the people. He, as I said, really developed consumer banking, and he changed it. And in his heyday, and this is an interesting connection back here to Logan, he not only had Bank of America, he had First Interstate Bank at that point. He had Bank of Hawaii. He owned 30% of Citicorp in New York. He owned Transamerica, which was an insurance company. And Mariner Eccles, who was chairman of the Federal Reserve, hated him and said he could have that. That was antitrust. I was doing it. And so he had to divest of everything except for Bank of America. Wow. I think you took the value of all of those assets today, they would be considerably more than $500,000. Yeah. Scott, what is your personal objective with the bank? You've been now at the bank since 1990, so almost 30 years, and as president, roughly 20 years. What would you, you've done so much already, is there anything more that you'd like to do? You still have an agenda? Yeah, well, I think the agenda is the same. Banking is an interesting business, and with all of the fintech technology coming out, it's changing, and you people bank differently than our parents bank and that I bank, and the goal is to ensure that we are providing services and the way for people to bank as they want to bank. But we have that technology available, that we're providing good advice, and that we continue to help move the economy forward, and that we continue to create value. And that's what drives me, that opportunity to try and create value for consumers, for businesses, for communities. The bank that you run, Zions Bank in Utah and Idaho, has, it's almost doubled in terms of the number of branches. It's about 5 times as large as it was when you became affiliated with the bank in terms of assets. So you're over $16 billion in assets, something like that. If you take it all, including our investments, we're about $20 billion as Zions First National Bank. And the holding company's about $60 billion. How do you account for the growth and the success of Zions Bank over that period of time? Well, again, I think it goes back to the basic philosophy and the great employees that we have that have this vision that they want to be out there as community bankers, helping people to succeed. And let's turn now to a little bit to consider the community that you serve. And it's Utah and Idaho, but I'd like to focus in on Utah, if we could. You're so deeply involved in economic development in Utah. You've chaired the governor's council on that. You've been deeply involved with the World Trade Council. One of the things you've been doing, which I personally and Kathy, my wife, have benefited from, is that you've been organizing these trade missions that the governor has gone on. You and Cecily and Kathy and I were together on a wonderful trip to Israel about 4 years ago with the governor. An amazing trip, by the way. Thank you for organizing that. But you're so deeply involved in economic development. What are your thoughts about Utah, its current state of evolution and its future prospects? Well, I'm really bullish on our state. I think there are a couple of issues that we have to watch out for, but I think we have a strong economy. We have a very diverse economy, which I think a lot of us living here don't realize the strength that gives us for how diverse our economy is. But I think what really makes our economy strong, and this was said by the Wall Street Journal several years ago. It's just coming out in another article by Bloomberg that Utah is the best place in the country for upward mobility. And there has been talk that the middle class is dead, that you can't rise up and improve your situation except in Utah. And I think that gives a tremendous enthusiasm and vigor to our economy. And if you look at the number of startups, the number of small businesses, the idea that Utah is the Silicon Slopes, and that we have more VC funding here than Colorado or any place other than San Francisco and San Jose. That's just remarkable. And I think a study of those that I heard elsewhere was that the child born in the lowest percentile has a greater chance of getting into the middle class and into the upper middle class in Utah than any other place in the country. And I think there's reason for that. And I'll give you a couple of examples that I like to think about. One, if you look at Shelley Carter, who started Stamp a scrapbook company that is now international. She was a mother. She needed to augment her husband's income. She was creative, and she started this business that just exploded. We have people who go out on LDS missions. They come back, they taste it, at the international area, and they say, gosh, here's what they did there. I can do it here in Utah. Or I can start something in Utah that I can take overseas and do it there. So you have Utah's largest export, other than minerals, Darren Parker, who has set up a company called Parker International, which exports beef around the world. Utah's largest export. He went on a mission to Brazil. He made connections with the beef company there. He had connections with the beef company here in Utah, and now he sells beef all over the world. And it came from this idea that I can do something here. And I think that's really the magic of our success here in Utah. One of the things that's always said about Utah is it's one of the most entrepreneurial places in the country, and we're always on the top 10 list for that, in part because we have so many business startups, like the major like Berkshire. We also have a lot of business failures. So maybe you could speak a little bit to the issue of how education plays into the future success of Utah. Yeah, well, I will give this example. Pat Jones, some of you may know Pat. She's coming here to speak in that chair in a couple of weeks. Well, good. Well, she chairs the Women's Leadership Institute in Utah, and she is developing a course to help women who may not have a degree and may not understand finance to know what they need to know to develop and grow a business. And I think that when you see business failures, usually they go too fast. You don't have the controls in place to manage growth, you overextend, and then things collapse. At least that's what I see it. So it's not that the idea's not good, but it's that you have to manage your growth and manage the business, and you have to hold back sometimes on growth for that management. Clayton Christensen, the Harvard professor, just wrote a book called Competing Against Luck. I tried to bring it today, but I couldn't find any copies. It's about a year old. But it's, you may know Clayton Christensen. He's from Rose Park. He's considered as probably the most influential business consultant in the world. You know, Clayton is a good friend of mine, and he's the brother-in-law of the head of our Department of Management as well. And that's terrific. But he developed this theory of disruptive technology. But he came and was struggling with the issue that you just raised. Why are there so many failures? And this new book, Competing Against Luck, answers it. And basically what he said is that if you don't know what the client wants, if you don't know the real job that the client is trying to do, then you're competing against luck. And you can be lucky and make a success. You can be unlucky and have a failure. And he gives the story. It's a classic one. McDonald's hired him because they were baffled. On the East Coast, they had a lot of people in the suburbs coming into their stores early in the morning and buying a milkshake. And they wouldn't come back, and they wouldn't buy anything more. And McDonald's had spent a fortune trying to get them to buy a breakfast sandwich or something else besides the milkshake. So they finally came to Clayton and said, help us. And Clayton did the research, and he said, McDonald's didn't understand the job that the milk came in. That they didn't come in because they were hungry. And so when McDonald's tried to force them or encourage them to buy more food to eat, that was the wrong job. They were coming in to buy that milkshake because they wanted something to keep them awake because they commuted from Connecticut to New York. And they tried a donut, it was too messy. They tried a banana, it was too messy. But a milkshake would last, so that 45-minute commute, it was easy to drink, and it would keep you awake and you get to New York and you didn't feel full. And so he said, if you put a little bit of fruit in it, you'd sell more because it would help do the job better. They suck up the piece of fruit in the straw and hit the back of their mouth, and they're over before it. And they didn't have it, and then all of a sudden their business quadrupled. But it was all going back to understanding the job. And I think that's the message that I try to get out to our entrepreneurs. If we understand, we can come up with a great idea, but if we can't package it with the idea of here's how it will help you do the job that you want, you're competing against luck, right? Wonderful place to pause down, open it up for questions from the audience. We'll just check. We've got about 6 minutes. Who would like to ask the first questions? We've got one right down here. Here's the microphone coming. If you'll please stand and state your name and tell us what your major is, we appreciate it.
My name is Rick Nixon. I'm a theater major. So my question is, was there a time that you felt like you were in over your head? And if so, what did you think about that?
Yeah, in fact, if you're a theater major, you enjoy it. I went back to Columbia, actually, because I wanted to go to theater. I had an uncle back there who was a producer on Broadway. And I got back there, and I thought because of the family connections, it helped. And he said, he's almost as a dead horse. He said, you're way over your head. I only hire professionals, and I don't have any talent. So, and when Tom Cook from Apple came out here last fall, he told me something that has really struck me as a crusader. He said, a lot of times we get in over our head. And sometimes we fail, and sometimes we muddle through. But he said, what's important is that you never give up. And you may have to reinvent yourself and reinvent yourself again. But if you hold true to the values that you have, and if you are well prepared, you will always be successful. And I think that's true. If you try something, and again, I think this is good advice for businesses. It's good advice for the bank. If you try something and it doesn't work, you have to be quick to get closing it down and going on to something else and reinventing yourself.
My name's Brian. I am a finance accounting major. My question is, what is something about your current job or your career path that you found to be a passion of yours? Whether it's obviously the career or the community that you have with Science Bank right now, or any other experience in your life, what has been the passion of yours related to your career?
I would say yes, and I think to give this advice that I pass out to all of you. I love to come to work each day. I'm passionate about it because I love the people that I work with. And when you think about it, I'm probably working with my colleagues more than I'm with my wife. And if you don't enjoy the people that you're working with, it can be a miserable experience. And so I love to come to work. I love the people that I work with, and it's a great relationship. Scott, just because you mentioned Jesse Lee and work in the same sentiment, I have to ask you about your marriage day. Can you tell the story about how you and Jesse Lee were married in the embassy in Tokyo and what was going on that day? Yeah, I was working in Japan, and Jesse Lee was working back in Washington, and she came over for us to get married, so we were by ourselves, and we were getting married at 3, and I worked till 2, and we came back, and in Japan, to get married, you go to a ward office, which is like a neighborhood police station, and at least when we did it, the man steps forward, and he signs the book, and the wife stands behind, and she doesn't sign anything, and so Jesse Lee tells me she never promised to support me or to honor and obey. And she wasn't sure that we were married because she didn't want to ask anything. And so she wanted to go to the embassy and get the Japanese certificate notarized by the ambassador. So we did that. Jesse says that she was warned in advance about this. How big a role does hard work play in success? Well, I think the key ingredients to success is one, you have to be willing to put in the work. 2, I think you have to be creative in how you go about the work. But 3, you need to have a balance in your life. And I think when you think about balance, a lot of people try to put it in silos. I have to spend this many hours at home and this many at work. But in my philosophy, I like to think of it sort of, when you go to the circus and you see the jugglers, especially when they balance and spin plates on one pole, they have 4 plates going at the same time spinning. They know when they have to go back to each pole to give it a spin to keep the plates going, and if they don't get back in time, the plate will fall and break. And I think that's how you achieve balance, is that you know where you have to be, when you have to be there to keep things going. Well, you and Jesse do a lot of things together. She in turn is also very involved in community affairs, but also in higher education. She was there, the board of trustees at the Salt Lake Community College, and that's on the board of regents. So she's deeply involved in these community affairs as well. Yeah. So, another question?
My name is Andrew Kenny, studying accounting and explaining. I also think quiz I think.
Okay.
So my question is, Well, so I think the biggest situation in our place is I think a Celebrities on our Idaho County demonstrate leadership and help guide all of those people without being able to talk to each individual person.
Well, I think the key is once you have good people that you work with, good managers throughout the organization, like you have here, that you have good communication that goes out so that everyone hopefully is on the same page. They understand the values. That's why we publish these very principles that you all have, that sort of sets the tone. And that if you have a strong brand, a strong culture, and good people, I think it allows you to operate well. Yeah, can you hold up my mic over so we're taking this and we want to make sure your question gets picked up on the tape?
Sorry, Mike Wallace, Design Think. On that, Scott sent out a weekly email to all the employees, kind of giving us the guiding principles. The one this week, for instance, was on maintaining the brand's appearance. A story about flowers dying in a branch that the customer wanted to take out. He said we weren't taking care of the small things. And so it's looking at all the small things and taking care of those things. So weekly we hear from Scott. He's a very bold president and a great person.
Thank you. Other questions? Professor Fawcett has a question. Professor Fawcett, let me just say, Professor Fawcett is a board member of a rival bank, Cache Valley Bank. That's a good bank.
Sounds very good stuff, yeah. So I'm just wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about the competitive environment of banking. Oftentimes there's a lot of conflict between banks and credit unions. How does Bank kind of navigate that competitive environment, position yourself in the market for success?
Well, there is a lot of competition here, and Utah is an interesting place because we have the second most highly concentrated group of credit unions in the country. Alaska is the only state that has more, and yet we have a lot of banks. We have all of the major banks. We have a lot of regional banks. We have a lot of community banks, and I think that really adds vibrancy to the community. But what it does is that the competition, I think, is good, and it keeps all of us honest. It keeps all of us sharp, and it's great for the customer because they go to Mountain America, and then they come to us, and then they go to Cache Valley, and say I can get this there. And so if you look at things, our interest rates on deposits for the state is the highest in the western part of the United States because of that competition, which benefits the consumer. Our rates on loans are among the lowest. Again, that's due to this competition. And so I enjoy the competition, and I think we have really a great cadre of bankers and credit union people that are out there trying to provide access to capital, and that competition keeps us all sharp. And I think if you look at some of the products and services, even from the small credit unions and small community banks, they are just as advanced from a technology point of view as that you can get from any international bank in New York, and it's because of the competition. But I should ask you that question. Professor Fawcett is an expert on competition, though. So, Scott, I wanted to ask you a little something about the Great Recession, its impact on banking, and then the impact of the regulations that have come since. I don't know what the number I'm going to share was the number of banks and financial institutions before the Great Recession, something like 44,000. What is it now? It must be more concentrated than that. Yes, in fact, for the last 3 years, we are losing on average a bank a day. And as they're going out of business or they're being merged, but we're losing about 360 banks on average a day for the last 3 years. So it's coming down. Some of the national banks are shrinking in terms of branches, so the number of branches are coming down. But some of the community banks are expanding in terms of branches. So again, it goes back to this idea of how do you compete, and I think it makes our environment here in Utah really not only competitive but vibrant. The Glass-Steagall was eliminated prior to the Great Recession. This was the law that prevented banking being involved in investment banking. It's been very controversial, and I believe the McFadden Act was also removed, wasn't it, prevents interstate banking. What do you see as unfortunately, and I was just back in Washington, both at the White House and on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, trying to encourage some financial reform coming out of the Great Recession with the Dodd-Frank and Durbin amendments. Banking has had, I think, their arms bound, and when I say banking, I include credit unions in this. The Volcker rule has basically put back the Glass-Steagall. So we can't invest in a fund that we don't control. And before that, we could invest in, and we did, in probably a dozen venture capital funds, which I think helps provide capital to startups. We can't do that now unless we control the fund. We can't trade on our own behalf. The idea that that's risky and puts your deposits at risk. The competition between the retail industry and the banking industry under the Durbin Amendment, which capped the interchange that you could charge on a debit card transaction. And that interchange reduction, banks have used that, in my view, to provide free checking and cover fraud and so forth. And with that going out, free checking should have run away because we don't have that income coming in. And so their banking is changing, a lot of it due to what happened during the Great Recession and the government's desire to ensure that if we go into another recession, no bank will be too big to fail, and that we won't have a collapse of the financial system or an air collapse that we did in that 2009-2008 period. Do you have a risk you think we would repeat the 2008-9 period? Well, I don't think that we will relive that period. And the reason why, and I'm biased, so I'll state that up front. But what really led the recession, I think, was what happened in the real estate market. And if you go back to the beginning, it wasn't because banks or credit unions were being too liberal in how they give credit. It went back to a statement and a policy of President Clinton that said, we want to increase home ownership from 61% to 68%. And the only way you do that is you got Freddie and Fannie, the National Association of Bond Home Loans, to reduce their criteria. And so you have people buying homes that didn't qualify. And during that period, they could justify it because the value of the home was going up so fast that they would sell it and they could make money and then they have cash and they could go into a home. And I'll give you an example. We had an intern working for us who was going to the University of Utah. and he decided he was going to buy a home. Now, he's an intern. He worked for 12 hours with us, and he was ready to school full time. And he bought a home just below the University of Football Stadium on 13th South. Did he get a loan from you? No, he didn't get a loan from us. We never participated in it. He paid zero down. He got 100% financing. He rented it out to 4 students, which gave him enough money to pay the rent. It worked so well that he went and bought a second home, put zero down. And you know, in those days, you could get a mortgage without giving any financial statements. It was, you know, you just stated what you made. There was no checking it. So he had 2 homes, you know, and each home was worth about $300,000. So $600,000 in debt. You know, he worked 15 hours a week from us, about $12 an hour, and he made the payments because he rented it out. Well, the recession came, property values dropped, the students moved out, and he was stuck. But he just walked away because he had nothing. Didn't declare bankruptcy. And well, he didn't declare bankruptcy. He just gave the home back out of bankruptcy and walked away. And you can do that. And if you saw, you know, if you've read books about the period, what happened is that people realized, Wall Street realized, that they could take these mortgages, they could cut them up and package them and sell them out as collateralized mortgage obligations. They were sold around the world because they were based and secured by real estate in the United States. The values were going up, and they thought, this is truthful. You know, and it was truthful until the market collapsed. You know, in fact, I brought some books here, if I could just, and one of them has to deal with it. These are some of my favorite books. And this is too big to fail. Some of you probably have read this, but there are a couple over here if you want to take it. But I think that what was good about this is that how you can just fool yourself and believing that things are okay when they're not. And when you read this story, especially when you read about Lehman Brothers, you know, the CEO, Richard Goldman at the time, didn't believe that the company was having any problems. And, you know, he quoted that. He said, well, what do you mean we may go into bankruptcy? And the next day, he was bankrupt. And that really brought down the whole system. You know, and so, you know, he says that what I thought was interesting is it's just what happened. But also that you can fool yourself if you're not really looking at what's happening. Don't spend the rest of the book. Yeah, so this one, some of you may have read, but it's Larry Miller. He didn't write this book. His son Ryan did, and it's Behind the Drive. Larry's book was Driven. And after Larry died, Larry worked so hard that a lot of his children, Ryan is one of the youngest, didn't know Larry. And so he decided he was going to write a book about his father. And so he wrote this. Now, this is a collection of stories that he got from people who knew his father. But he's put it into chapters based on Larry's business philosophy: generosity, faith, love, integrity, stewardship, loyalty, friendship, passion. And what's interesting about this is that when you read it, you get to know sort of who Larry really was. But you also know his business philosophy. And Larry was a true entrepreneur, and he really gave back to the community. So I think this is a terrific book. And Gail now, if you've read Fortune magazine, is a billionaire, and a richest person in Utah, and another great benefactor of this building. Yeah. So that was a book. This other is an older book, but I really liked it. It's called When Giants Learn to Dance. And it gives sort of some short-term goals that entrepreneurs should take if they want to be successful. Roosevelt Cantor, a professor at Harvard School. Yeah. And again, the idea is if you can teach elephants to dance, you can do anything. You know, but it's really, if you like business and for those business majors, I think it's really a terrific book. And then 2 others. This one is Second Sons, and one of the authors is actually a doctor at the Grand Eye Institute in Salt Lake. And he would go to Nepal and partner with an Indian doctor, and they would remove cataracts from the people in Nepal. If you remove your cataracts here in the U.S., it's a fairly simple operation, but it takes a couple of hours, and it costs several $1,000s. In Nepal, they developed a technique that they could do it in 6 minutes, and it costs $12. And he tells the story of how, you know, these people are basically blind because the cataracts are so heavy that they remove them. They can see, and when they can see, all of a sudden they become contributing members to the economy instead of being a drag on the economy. And I think it's a powerful story about how people are changing the world, but also how people can develop new procedures and really change the health of the population. So, you know, it's again Utah. If you read this book, I should also say Gary Crittenden lives in Utah now. He was CFO of Citicorp during his time. He's in the book. He was in all of these meetings. And in fact, he tells that, you know, he was arguing with the government, the Treasury, that they shouldn't let Lehman fail. And Citi offered to buy him, and they said, no, it's time to let someone go. And had they not, when it failed, you know, we probably wouldn't have had the crisis. Yeah, Gary is right here. It's spoken to our dance club. Great leader. What's the last? Yeah, this last one is called The Human City. This is a new book, and it's by Joel Compton. And Joel is probably the foremost demographer in the country. And what makes Joel, he's from California, what makes him unique is not only does he have a real understanding of the numbers, how is the population changing, but he understands the implication that it makes for society. And demography is destiny. Yeah, it is. And what's interesting about this book, he looks at the development of our cities, and he's saying that, you know, the planners of the cities don't understand what's happening with the population, and they are building cities based on their planning rules that are going to destroy the cities and turn them all into ghettos. And his argument is that families want to live in the heart of the city, but they don't because they don't have housing for a family, and the schools aren't good, so they escape to the suburbs where they can get a house, and they have better schools. And I think it's just, he talks about Utah in here, and the Utah sort of punches the thread. But I think it's really interesting on how you can look at numbers, and one side says, well, it means this, and another side says it means this, and depending on which side you go, there's very different outcomes. So this is super. Scott, thank you for bringing these books along with us. There are about 60 books over there, so I encourage the students who would like to take one of these books to pick their favorites and see some of the others. Scott, we're at the end of the hour. I hate to draw this to a close because it's been such a fabulous session, but I want to just make an editorial comment to our students in the audience. You know, we say our pillars at the Huntsman School are entrepreneurial spirit, ethical leadership, global vision, and analytical rigor. And you can be taught by someone who exemplifies these things more effectively than Scott Anderson in a great career and service here to the university. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. like to introduce our guest. We have a fabulous video that actually Tim Larson on our team found of our esteemed guest. So if you want to take a look, it's about 2 minutes long. We'll give you a flavor for what you're in for today. Dog goes loose, that goes down, earth goes sweet, and house goes sweet. Cow goes loose, donkey goes gray, and the air that thing goes through. Chick goes orange, chick goes blue, and the steel goes ow, ow, ow. There's no sound, and no one knows. What does the fox say? What the pig say? What the fox say? Hotty, 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 ho, hotty, 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 ho, hotty, 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 ho. What the pig say? What the fucking pig say? Secret of those guys, ancient mystery, somewhere deep in the Capitol. I know you're listening. What is your sound? Will we ever know? Don't be in the street. Where shall you go? Where will it go? Watching after me. What is the sound? Will we ever know? So what happened with this, it's kind of fun, and I probably should say that, sorry David, this is your show, okay? We're going to have some fun today, okay? But I'll get into about 5 words. Yeah, but what happened is, part of this really should be about building your brand, okay? And our brand is Washington Millie. And but what happened is, we hired these smoke machines to have this little smoke coming out, unbeknownst to us, we set out the smoke detectors in the Capitol building. So they had to evacuate the entire Capitol, to gather everybody else. And so, anyway, the fire truck shows up, and I'm kind of going like, I think I better get out of here. But we're going to have all these very dynamic, attractive young, workforce, modern Aggies. And I said, just take care of these guys. And I thought for sure I was going to take it, written up. But they show up and you're calling the soft drink, a cup of coffee, and they charm the socks off the fire marshal, and the superintendent of the colonel of the highway patrol, on and on and on. So kind of thought like, so a couple days later, we get the deal. It's like for Christmas. I'm sitting over the governor's mansion talking to Governor Herbert. The Governor Herbert, he's kind of a useful guy, and he kind of likes doing this and that. And I said, Governor, go see our Christmas video. So he's playing on his phone, he's tapping his whip, and all this stuff like this. So you're the guy. He said, I was interviewing, candidates for the Supreme Court. I was going to D.C. I had that. They take the office, and he said, oh, well, I'll go get some. That's the story of the Christmas video. It cost me probably, we had to hire the guy to sing, and the guy had me $2,500 to do that video. And I have got more value out of that video because people see it. I'll call something like out of it, and people really like it. The other thing we do really kind of cool is we do cool Christmas cards, and the same knows in Boston, we do kind of cool Christmas parties too. And part of it is to gather and get people together and keep your contract. So anyway, back to you some part. So I have this great opening. Now, we have one day today, or we have 40 days. Sorry, Dave, okay? That's a 4 night. I mean, last week you have a Nobel Prize winner, Lars Peter is, okay? I mean, we're students together. I mean, we're going to we're smart. And Lars, I think, both science classes with us. Like, he was somewhere between Kolob and Pluto. I mean, brilliant. But I want you to know, So if you're interested in that, please sign up at a piece of paper on a table called Chief Visit, and we're not able to take that about the next people. The next speaker is Professor Bellini from the University of Amsterdam. About that specific area.
All right, so thanks for the invitation to these lectures. So the title of this lecture is quite generic because of course I've been knowing a lot of exactly that mathematical theories for a long time. For instance, the exact determination of the chiral operators, and also stated the theories, the exact dimensions of chiral operators, mathematical theories, conformal theories, what are exact beta functions, H theories, the exact Faraday solution, and so on. And I will not talk about these topics. Instead, what I talk about are some new ideas and new techniques that developed in the last few years, and that developed some new exactly about. So I would like to start describing from several steps what really started with the lectures. And of course, during my time, you have questions and also very effective what improve on different fields. Okay, so as we all know, the good information about quantum theory is encoded in the Euclidean finite integral theory, which is an integral where all the configurations on a Euclidean spacetime are weighted by the action function of the resources. Unfortunately, this is difficult to have to do in general because it's an integral infinite-dimensional space of functions of the configurations, and in general we don't know how to do it. Now, of course, the classic standard approach is to expand the action of the system work perfectly, and it works very well in coupling with the coupling one. However, this in general doesn't work when the coupling over the one because from coupling. And the reason is that even if we are able to compute all the probability orders and we try to sum them, in general we find ourselves in clear material for convergence, and so it's only after summing all the probability contribution that we can get some more functions that is the corresponding weight for coupling. So one possible approach solution to this problem is to look for theories where we can actually compute this integral. And well, a few years ago, this is the only example besides the theories where some homological proposal theories, such as Feynman theories. It was interesting because quite the class of theories. However, in the last few years, especially after the work of Microsoft and many others, there are a large class of theories for which we can compute some integrals in the theories. And well, in particular, this class includes many specific theories. For now, let me stress that, of course, solving the is not the only way to solve a theory, for instance. It's a dimensional conformal theory, essentially, if you know the spectrum of prime operators and frequent functions, then essentially solve the theory that corresponds with data and the conformal blocks, which at least relative quantities are known, then what we can compute all correlates of operators. Other examples of integral theory where we have these number of surfaces, which are also for the dynamics, but I will not talk about this class of theories. Okay, so the objective of these lectures will be to compute, we learn how to compute the Euclidean partition function of the mathematic theory on complex of M, called the object of G over M. And this, again, this is the partition integral of the mathematic theory. For all the configuration of the compact manifold, we need the reaction function that is set to a constant, and in general, there will be parameters of the reaction function, and so this produces a function of parameters. But we take the opinion of a compact manifold, well, because this provides a nice convergent integral, that we can also solve. We will also be interested, not just in this particular integral, which we call the reaction function, but also in the expectation value, values of certain operators or correlators in the theory, correlated with the factors of the field. We will see how to compute it. And one of the technique that the favorable sequence function allows us to compute these integrals is arithmetic localization. And when you follow sequence this technique allows us to compute exactly different integrals, whereby exactly I can take them sometimes an integral of considered that could be solved, but of course they are much easier problems than the original integral. Now, the technique of localization, is not new, it has been used extensively in the past, and was usually in connection with the so-called topological twist. And in a nutshell, we come back to this example later on in the lecture, but in a nutshell, what it is, well, we take a specific theory, and we somehow twist the spin sum of the field in such a way that some supercharge, some component of the supercharges, such as Q, becomes effectively scalar, and in this way we preserve the zero, can be preserved on a core manifold. And moreover, for this supercharge such that there's a very simple algorithm equal to zero. And well, at this point, we can interpret this supercharge as a DST operator, so this is a scalar anti-commuting operator, we can interpret it as a DST operator in the sense that we can regard it as physical states of the theory, only those which are Q closed under Q. So physical states, we regard the physical states only those which are indicated by Q, and moreover, we regard as the same physical state, state that differ by some Q at large. So we have psi is equivalent to psi plus Q of some other theta. And all the physical states are the cohomology factors of Q. And when we do this, usually, the theory becomes topological in the sense that it does not depend on the metric, on the manifold, where we put it, and it does not depend where we put the instance operators. Of course, these operators are not local, it depends on the topology of the operators. And so in practice, it normally simplifies the theory in such a way that what we call localization is allowed usually to use the integral for a problem. And it's a powerful and it has been developed in the past. However, this approach has limitations. So what's happening here is that, I'm sorry. So the thing here is that, so we regard this operator as a operator in the sense that we define what the physical states of the theory are for us. So we regard the physical states only those which are indicated by Q, so we identify states which differ by themselves. They're not equal, but we regard them as the same physical states. And when we do that, what we say different theory, because we say that with the less physical states, because the theory all, it's just a physical condition, so we don't have to decompose it, but we decide to do that. When we do that, we get a new theory which is more or less of the state, and it is simpler. And because it's simpler, one is able eventually to reduce the Patin integral for a maximum problem. And we will see how this works. Yes, any other question? So this approach is beautiful and it leads to very interesting results, but there are limitations. The first limitation is that this much simpler problem to which localization reduces the Patin integral is not always simple. And in particular, often the problem involves complicated model spaces in the solution of partial differential equations, which might be very hard to determine and to work with, and we'll see some examples of this. The second limitation is that usually topological trees grant ourselves to understand class operators using homological operators to trial operators, and the correlation function between them. And it is very interesting, but more generally we would like also the correlation function between homological and anti-homological operators, so between constant currents. So the idea then is that anti-topological trees is not the only way that we have to research the symmetry on manifolds, it's just one example. And so we could try to start studying systematically on what manifolds we can research supersymmetry, and when we consider the more general way to research supersymmetry on this manifold. And it turns out that this exercise is very profitable because of two reasons. So first of all, it turns out that on some supersymmetric backgrounds, as you see, localization reduces the Patin integral for a simple problem on others. In other words, we would like to encounter a problem which depends on some other space which is simple and tractable. So with some supersymmetric backgrounds are easier. The second achievement is that as we believe the theory of different manifolds and different specific backgrounds, we get access different correlators between operators, in particular including correlators between homological and operators of the system. So we somehow overcome these limitations. Alright, so to round up my lecture, then we will follow it. So this will be somehow the ordinary part. At the beginning, we describe how to research the symmetry of manifolds. In the second part, I will discuss the technique of systematic localization. And then the part of the application.